Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our briefing at the Foreign Office. Let me begin by Prime Minister's successful visit to China from 3rd to 6th February 2022. The visit was undertaken on the invitation of the Chinese leadership to attend the opening ceremony of the Beijing Winter Olympics. During the visit, the Prime Minister held face-to-face meetings with President Xi and Premier Li Keqiang, which covered the entire gamut of bilateral relations and exchange of views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi also held a meeting with State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. A comprehensive joint statement was issued at the conclusion of the visit, which you must have seen. 14 agreements, MOUs, and other outcomes were also concluded. The joint statement and list of agreements has been posted on the website of the ministry. The visit had an important economic component. In order to exchange views on the high-quality development of CPEC, fast-track progress of its Phase 2, and industrial development, the Prime Minister virtually met the Chairman of National Development and Reform Commission. A framework agreement on industrial cooperation was signed during that meeting, which would pave the way for Chinese support for industrialization and investments in CPEC SEZs. The Prime Minister also held meetings with heads of 20 top Chinese enterprises, covering a broad array of investment interests in Pakistan. SAPM on CPEC affairs has given a detailed briefing on these meetings. On the sidelines, the Prime Minister also met the President of Uzbekistan and held interactions with other world leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, on 9th February, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi held telephonic conversations with Foreign Minister of the UAE and the Foreign Minister of Chad. These conversations focused on deepening historic ties between these two countries and strengthening of bilateral cooperation. The Ambassador of Egypt called on the Foreign Minister on 10th February, expressing satisfaction at the growing cooperation between Pakistan and Egypt. The Foreign Minister emphasized the importance of enhanced interactions at the leadership level, greater people-to-people contacts, and increased institutional engagements. On 16th February, the Foreign Minister inaugurated the 8th meeting of the Istanbul process, themed 10th anniversary of UN Human Rights Council Resolution 1618, Looking Back and Moving Forward, that was hosted by Pakistan from Geneva. The 9th round of Pakistan-Netherlands bilateral political consultations was held on 10th February. Foreign Minister Suhail Mahmood and the Secretary General at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Netherlands led the respective sides. The two sides reviewed bilateral cooperation in a range of areas, including political, economic, trade and investment, climate change, education, and culture. Foreign Secretary Suhail Mahmood also met with German State Secretary for Economic Cooperation and Development on 14th February. During the meeting, the two sides exchanged views on bilateral relations as well as regional issues. The Foreign Secretary on 16th February also received outgoing Kenyan High Commissioner to Pakistan, Professor Bitok, for a farewell call. The Foreign Secretary appreciated the High Commissioner's efforts for promotion of bilateral ties and reaffirmed a commitment to further deepen the relations in all fields. On 16 February, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with Digital Media Wing, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, organized a Twitter for Diplomacy virtual training session. 130 Pakistani diplomats from over 100 Pakistani missions abroad participated in this session, which aimed at imparting training to the missions for effective engagement through Twitter and increasing outreach to global audiences. Continuing in the context of public diplomacy, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi undertook a visit to the UAE from 16th to 18th of February. He visited the Pakistan Pavilion at the Dubai Expo 2020 and held a media interaction appreciating the vision and zeal that has made Pakistan Pavilion a must-visit site for all guests, making it one of the top 5 most frequently visited pavilions at the Expo, which is indeed a resounding success for Pakistan. The Foreign Minister also visited and appreciated the pavilions of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE, China, and Turkey. While at the OIC pavilion at the Expo, the Foreign Minister extended a symbolic invite to Ministers of Foreign Affairs of all OIC countries to attend the 48th session of OIC Council of Foreign Ministers, which is to be held in Islamabad on 22nd and 23rd of March 2022. It may be noted that formal invites have already been issued to all countries, and further details regarding this upcoming ICFM in Pakistan will be shared in due course. Coming over to the situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Like every year, 5th February was observed all over the world to express solidarity with the Kashmiri people in their just struggle for the right to self-determination. In their separate messages, the President, the Prime Minister, and the Foreign Minister paid homage to the supreme sacrifices of our brothers and sisters in IIOJK and reiterated our unflinching and complete support for their just struggle. This will continue till the realization of their inalienable right to self-determination. Foreign Minister Qureshi also addressed a letter to the President of the UN Security Council and the UN Secretary General to apprise them of the deteriorating human rights and humanitarian situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the continuing threat to peace and security in the region. As part of the Kashmir Solidarity Day activities, an art exhibition to honor the valiant struggle of Kashmiris for the right to self-determination and to highlight the widespread human rights violations in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir was also held at the Foreign Ministry on 10th of February. Young artists from National College of Arts, Rawalpindi, ComSats, University Islamabad, and Rawalpindi Women University participated in this exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks 15 years of the Delhi-Lahore Samjhauta Express train blasts that resulted in the tragic deaths of 68 passengers, including 44 Pakistani nationals. To this day, our hearts mourn their untimely demise. It is extremely unfortunate that despite the availability of clear evidence, the families of the victims of Samjhauta Express terrorist attack continue to await justice. India's continuing failure to provide justice to the victims of this horrendous terror attack is a reconfirmation of the culture of impunity that the perpetrators of terrorist attacks enjoy in India. The families of the victims long for the day when the terrorists responsible for the cold-blooded attack will be apprehended and made to face the full force of law. However, the reality of today's India is awash with injustice, inequality, and unabashedly rampant state-sponsored terrorism. The Indian Charge d'Affaires was summoned to the Foreign Office this morning to convey Pakistan's strong protest that despite 15 years having elapsed, India is yet to bring to justice the terrorists behind the 18-2 Samjhauta terrorist attack. We further conveyed our alarm that the Hindutva extremism and saffron terror that have motivated the inhuman attack 15 years ago has in fact intensified manifolds under the current regime in India. The Government of India is advised to put an end to state patronage of terrorism and bring to trial the terrorists behind the Samjhauta Express blasts. Pakistan also calls upon India to renounce the use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy and faithfully comply with its obligations under international legal regime governing terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan is deeply concerned and condemns reprehensible act of banning Muslim girls from wearing hijab in the Indian state of Karnataka. In this context, on 9th February, the Indian Charge of Affairs was demarched and urged to convey to the Government of India Pakistan's extreme concern over the anti-hijab campaign being spearheaded by RSS BJP campaign in Karnataka, which is part of its larger exclusionist and majoritarian agenda aimed at dehumanizing and demonizing the Muslim women in India. Pakistan categorically rejects the unwarranted and preposterous comments made by the spokesperson of the Indian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Pakistan-China joint statement of 6th February. We also strongly reject India's persistent propaganda against China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan has shared irrefutable evidence of India's sinister campaign to sabotage CPEC. There is strong evidence of Indian involvement in recent sinister attempts to stir up unrest in Balochistan by supporting anti-state elements. With this, I conclude my remarks and I'm ready to take your questions. Yes.